Welcome everyone to The Explainer. Let's jump right in, because today we are looking at a figure who is instantly recognizable all over the planet, yet deeply misunderstood. Mother Teresa. Our goal today? We're going to unpack the nuanced realities, the sprawling global impact, and frankly, the surprisingly complex humanity behind her famously saintly image. We're relying entirely on the historical record here to see exactly how one woman changed the world and why, to this day, her legacy remains a subject of such intense debate.
Okay, let's dive into this. By blood, I am Albanian. By citizenship, an Indian. By faith, I am a Catholic nun. As to my calling, I belong to the world. Those are her own words, and they perfectly establish this multifaceted, totally global identity she had. She was someone who really defied simple categorization, right? Born in the Ottoman Empire, holding an Indian passport, and ultimately becoming a global icon. Her life literally transcended borders and touched almost every single corner of the planet.
So here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start with the call within a call, move on to building a global mission, and check out her worldwide recognition. From there, we absolutely have to explore the controversy surrounding her work, uncover a highly private crisis of faith, and finally chart her road to sainthood.
All right, Section 1, the call within a call. Let's look at the specific environment that shaped her.
Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds. Her story starts in 1910, born Anjezi Gonje Bojagiu in Skopje, which was part of the Ottoman Empire back then. She was obsessed with stories of missionaries from a super young age, and that led to a truly monumental decision. She was just 18 years old in 1928 when she left home to join the Sisters of Loreto in Ireland, specifically so she could learn English for missionary work. Actually, a heartbreaking detail here, she never saw her mother or sister again after she left. By 1929, she makes it to India, takes her vows, and starts teaching in Calcutta. But then comes 1946. On a train ride up to Darjeeling for an annual retreat, the trajectory of her life, and honestly the 20th century, shifted forever.
On that train, she experienced what she vividly described as a call within a call. She felt her inner conscience explicitly telling her to leave the convent and serve the poor of India while living directly among them. It wasn't a suggestion. As she put it, it was an order. She felt that to fail would have been to break the faith. This profound revelation was a huge pivot. It led her to trade in her comfortable traditional Sisters of Loreto habit for a very simple, cheap white cotton sari with a blue border. She ventured straight into the slums with absolutely zero income, literally begging for food and supplies during an incredibly rough first year.
Moving into Section 2, building a global mission. We're talking about an empire of charity.
By 1950, she gets the official green light from the Vatican to establish the Missionaries of Charity. And what started in the slums of Kolkata, well, it definitely didn't stay there. Fast forward to 2012, and there were a staggering 4,500 nuns operating within her congregation. 4,500. To put that in perspective, that is a breathtaking expansion from one woman in a simple sari to a massive, highly organized religious order. And every single member took a unique fourth vow, to give wholehearted free service to the poorest of the poor.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how massive this operation became. The Missionaries of Charity eventually expanded to operate in over 133 countries. They manage hospices specifically for folks dying from HIV/AIDS, leprosy, and tuberculosis. They run soup kitchens, dispensaries, mobile clinics, orphanages, the whole shebang. The juxtaposition is just wild. I mean, she started out establishing the Kaligat Home for the Dying in an abandoned Hindu temple in 1952 and eventually commanded this massive, well-oiled global infrastructure of care.
Section 3, worldwide recognition. This is where the world really takes notice.
Her rise to international celebrity was packed with some incredible milestones. She won some early awards in the 60s, but a 1969 BBC documentary is what truly skyrocketed her to international fame. A decade later, she wins the ultimate accolade, the 1979 Nobel Peace Prize. And you know what she did? She out-refused the traditional fancy ceremonial banquet and insisted that its $192,000 cost be given directly to the poor in India. And her physical fearlessness completely matched her convictions. In 1982, right at the absolute peak of the siege of Beirut, she brokered a temporary ceasefire and traveled straight through an active war zone with Red Cross workers just to rescue 37 trapped children from a frontline hospital. No hesitation.
But of course, with global impact comes intense scrutiny. Section 4, the controversies and the fierce criticisms that followed.
So the crucial point is, the actual methods of her charity became a massive point of debate. On one hand, academic and medical critics strongly argued that, despite taking in millions in donations, her clinics severely lacked systematic diagnosis, basic necessary nutrition, and even sufficient painkillers. But on the other side of the aisle, the congregation and its defenders forcefully pushed back. The Ministry of Defense argued that her homes were never intended to be modern hospitals in the first place. They were hospices. Places designed so that people who had been totally cast aside by society could at least die with comfort, love, and dignity, according to their own faith.
And the ideological clash was just as intense. The famous English journalist Christopher Hitchens delivered some downright scathing attacks. He argued she was a friend of poverty rather than a friend of the poor. He claimed she actively opposed women's empowerment through her strict anti-abortion stance, and even argued she saw suffering as a sort of gift from God. Now, in stark contrast to that, defenders, including her official biographer Navin Challa and former Superior General Sister Mary Prima Pierrick, countered that her critics rarely, if ever, offer to get their own hands dirty and help. They argued her mission was specifically to alleviate immediate suffering, basically picking up the tragic pieces left behind by vicious political and economic systems that the rest of the world had completely ignored.
Let's lower the volume a bit and look at Section 5, a private crisis of faith, a deeply hidden struggle.
After hearing all that, we really have to ask, but what was happening inside the mind of this global icon? I mean, for a woman whose entire existence, her public persona, and her massive organization were totally predicated on absolute religious devotion, her private letters revealed something shockingly unexpected. These letters were kept secret for nearly 50 years.
You see, the public saw a woman of unwavering, rock-solid devotion. She famously proclaimed, "As to my calling, I belong to the world. As to my heart, I belong entirely to the heart of Jesus." This was the Mother Teresa the world knew, right? A total paragon of absolute, unshakable faith.
Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast. In private letters written to her confessors, letters she actually desperately wanted destroyed, she wrote some truly agonizing words. Quote, "Where is my faith? There is nothing but emptiness and darkness. If there be God, please forgive me." She described this emptiness as being so profound that when she tried to raise her thoughts to heaven, the emptiness literally hurt her very soul. It is a heartbreaking emotional climax revealing a secret, total spiritual devastation.
The Catholic Church actually has a term for this phenomenon. It's called spiritual dryness, basically a prolonged period of religious doubt and a severe lack of spiritual consolation. Now, other saints have gone through this so-called night of nothingness, but what makes Mother Teresa's case so incredibly compelling is the timeline. This private crisis didn't stop her work. She experienced this agonizing doubt concurrently, at the exact same time while building and leading her highly public global ministry for decades. She even asked her spiritual advisors to destroy these letters so people wouldn't think less of Jesus. But they were preserved, giving us a remarkable window into the profound psychological weight she carried, all while projecting absolute certainty to the rest of the world.
Finally, Section 6, the road to sainthood, and her official recognition. After years of declining health and heart issues, Mother Teresa stepped down as head of her order and passed away on September 5, 1997. The Indian government actually gave her a massive state funeral out of profound gratitude for her services to the country. And the progression toward official Catholic sainthood that followed, it was exceptionally fast. By 2003, she was beatified by Pope John Paul II. Then, after the Vatican recognized a second miracle, which involved the healing of a Brazilian man with brain tumors in 2008, she was officially canonized as Saint Teresa of Calcutta by Pope Francis on September 4, 2016.
So we've traced this incredible sweeping journey from the Ottoman Empire to the slums of Kolkata, through international fame, severe ideological criticisms, and a profound, agonizing inner darkness. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative question to ponder. How does the juxtaposition of her global sainthood, her fierce critics, and her deeply guarded private darkness create one of the most complex historical figures of the 20th century? It's a fascinating legacy, one that really forces us to look way beyond simple narratives and grapple with the intricate, messy realities of historical giants. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this sparks you to dive even deeper and keep learning.